What we're exploring here today is not divorced from this reality. What we're exploring here today about music and psyche and its impact on us and the musical field is not separated or dissociated from our actual world, from what we're actually experiencing. It's not somehow separate from what's occurring in the world. And actually, to say it even more explicitly, the insights from the musical field, from the experience of the musical field, literally and symbolically, is actually capable of revealing to us something about the nature of perception itself, of reality, the nature of reality itself, 24/7, no matter what's going on. So, for example, the self-liberating nature of sound, that sound comes and goes. That alone is almost a kind of nature of reality teaching right there, that music comes and goes, it liberates itself, and that this is sort of a mirror, an existential mirror of ourselves in a way as well. That's, I think, worthy of reflection right there. And that perception is operating 24/7, 365 days a year. It doesn't turn off. Our creative perceptual capacity adapts and transforms according to our immediate circumstances. Yes, that's true. Sometimes it's very thin and immediate, or sometimes it's very expansive and timeless, but it does not turn off completely, even in the face of very immediate demands. So this is what the metaphor of our musical psyche, which is kind of what we're talking about today, our musical psyche, the unheard music, can help us get in contact with toward the good purpose of individuation or development, actual expansion, development, becoming, and even toward the resolution of seemingly impossible situations. And I think that does speak a little to how some of us are feeling about our world right now. Some of these ideas, or many of these ideas, are from this book that I wrote called Jungian Music Psychotherapy, where there's a picture of it right there. And I'm going to just take you through some of these ideas. Just start with this one. This idea that musicking, which is basically everything that exists within a musical environment, the experience of music, listening to it, playing it, composing it, imagining music, is very similar in terms of a state of mind to dreaming and the experience of dreaming. And I'm not only talking about nighttime dreaming, I'm talking about waking dreaming too, reverie, fantasy, imagination. So again, when intense things are happening around us and we're trying to take them in and digest them and perceive them, this is the experience of perceiving perception, if that's not too silly of a way of, absurd of a way of saying it. But perceiving our perception, actually having some experience of how we're perceiving a great deal of information, content, etc., others, interactions, and our response, our reflexive response as well. And what I'm saying here is that actually the experience of music, of entering a musical field, of entering a musical space, is a wonderful metaphor for this, living reality metaphor, not only metaphor, but an experience of this as well. Because, imagine for yourself, or remember what it's like to enter into the right music at the right time. Like when I'm talking about music today, I'm always talking about the right music at the right time. I'm not talking about useless music that you don't care about. I'm talking about this experience of entering the music and, it just wakens you up, and it's the right thing at the right time. That experience. It brings feeling and affect, and sometimes insight. And this is the experience we're talking about, and that it doesn't stop. It doesn't have to stop when you press stop on the musical sound. That actually, it's a state of mind. There's a lot of talk these days about a lot of interesting exploration, actually, about psychedelics. And of course, there's a long history of dream work in Jungian psychology. But psychedelics, there's a lot of talk about altered states of mind and, what can be possible when we have altered states of mind. Well, musicking, I'm not making a direct parallel with psychedelics, but I'm saying that the experience of music can be like this experience of expansiveness where the parameters of perception change in this musicking experience, or the experience of the right music at the right time. And even remembering it, imagining it, thinking about it, even remembering that experience, like remembering a dream, but not only telling the words of the dream, but actually kind of going back into the dream. Have you had this experience where you're telling somebody, you're saying, wow, I had this amazing dream and it was like this, and you start telling the dream and I was here and this was happening, and you're kind of in it a little bit. You're kind of back in it. You kind of almost get into a bit of a reverie state, almost like looking at clouds and seeing shapes, that feeling. So it can be like that, an altered state. And I would go so far as to say it's not an altered state, we're always in an altered state. There is no baseline normal state, in terms of our perception. It's a transforming, moving experience that is always in motion. And sometimes it's, like I said, very thin. So when the life circumstance or the situation is very immediate and the focus is very demanding, that can be a certain kind of a thin, parameters are tight, got to deal with this situation right here, but it's still perception. It's still happening as perception. And then sometimes it's very expansive and we can afford to have a very wide, expansive state. Well, this is like music in a way. This is like the musical field, that it also seems to be experienced that way as well, with the parameters that are ever changing. I'm going to switch to another slide here. Let's see if I can. This is a slide of something that I refer to as cymatics. And it's this relationship between the visual field and the auditory field, because they're sometimes in competition with each other. The visual field, the eyes and the ears, are sometimes in competition with each other. But actually, in reality, sound doesn't exist only in the realm of the auditory. It actually is physical as well. Just in terms of vibration, and actually the pulsation of molecules in the air, the pulsation of wave of the air itself, and how that impacts and how it turns into mental representations in our mind. Well, these first 5 blue circles are actually pictures of sound in a way, because the way these were generated was that somebody spoke the 5 English vowel sounds into a microphone, and then the microphone had a piece of tin on top of an amplifier that was pointed up, and then there was a kind of a gloopy, viscous, soupy sort of material on top, and it created these geometric shapes: A, E, I, O, U. These 5 vowel sounds created these geometric shapes, and so there is sort of fractal geometry in sound. You've probably seen this if you have a bottle of water beside an amplifier or something, or even when a big truck drives by, you'll see some shapes in the water. So this is always happening. I mean, we could even imagine, it wouldn't be wild to imagine this is happening in the air around us all the time, even right now, as I'm making sound, and as maybe your computers are hearing the sound, or you're hearing the sound from the computer. So sound and the visual are not completely separated from each other.